Hi, this is Dr. Tiffany Jackson, naturopathic doctor at Natural Medicine Now University. Thank you for joining us for this webinar, Natural Approaches for Anxiety. Given this fast-paced, stressful world, it seems like the anxiety epidemic grows larger every day. For many people, anxiety is a daily struggle, negatively impacting their quality of life and relationships. Many people turn to prescription drugs to manage their anxiety, but sometimes that's not always necessary. In this webinar, you will learn about the nervous system, neurotransmitter balance, and natural approaches for anxiety, such as amino acid supplementation, vitamins and minerals, herbs, and mind-body techniques. So let's get started. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, 40 million American adults, or about 18.1% of people in the adult age group, suffer from some form of anxiety disorders. Anxiety disorders cause a person to be constantly on edge or tense in expectation of an impending threat to their physical or psychological well-being. There are several major types of anxiety disorders, each with its own characteristics. People with generalized anxiety disorder have recurring fears or worries, such as about their health or finances, and they often have persistent sense that something bad is going to happen. The reason for the intense feeling of anxiety may be difficult to identify, but the fears and worries are very real and often keep individuals from concentrating on daily tasks. Panic disorder involves sudden, intense, and unprovoked feelings of terror or dread. People who suffer from this disorder generally develop strong fears about when and where their next panic attack will occur, and they often restrict their activities as a result. A related disorder involves phobias or intense fears about certain objects or situations. Specific phobias may involve things such as encountering certain animals or flying in airplanes, while social phobias involve fear of social settings or public places. Obsessive-compulsive disorder is characterized by persistent, uncontrollable, and unwanted feelings or thoughts, obsessions, and they are routines or rituals, compulsions in which individuals engage and try to prevent or rid themselves of these thoughts. Examples of common compulsions include washing hands or cleaning house excessively for fear of germs, or checking work repeatedly for errors. Someone who suffers severe physical and emotional trauma, such as from a natural disaster or a serious accident or crime, may experience post-traumatic stress disorder. Thoughts, feelings, and behavior patterns become seriously affected by reminders of the event, sometimes months or years after the traumatic experience. Common symptoms in all of these anxiety disorders are extreme fear, shortness of breath, racing heartbeat, insomnia, nauseousness, trembling, and even dizziness can occur. To truly understand anxiety, you must first understand the nervous system. The nervous system is the primary communication system in the body. Structurally, it is divided into the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system consists of the brain and the spinal cord, while the peripheral nervous system is present throughout the rest of the body, linking the brain to the organs, tissues, and glands through the spinal cord. The nervous system is comprised of a network of specialized cells called neurons. Information is relayed by neurons using electrical and chemical signals. Neurons are composed of two primary structures, dendrites and axons. The dendrites receive the messages from the other neurons, and then the axons send messages via electrical signals and the release of chemicals called neurotransmitters. The neurotransmitters are released into the space between adjacent neurons. The space between the neurons is called the synapse. Neurotransmitters are the brain chemicals that communicate information throughout our brain and body. They relay the signals between the nerve cells that you just learned about called neurons. So the brain is using these neurotransmitters to tell your heart to beat, your lungs to breathe, and your stomach to digest. They also affect your mood, your sleep, your concentration, your weight, and they can cause adverse symptoms when they are out of balance. So neurotransmitter levels can be depleted in many ways. As a matter of fact, it's estimated that about 85% of Americans have suboptimal neurotransmitter levels. Stress, poor diet, neurotoxins, genetic predisposition, drugs, alcohol, and caffeine all deplete neurotransmitters and cause them to be out of range. There are two kinds of neurotransmitters, inhibitory and excitatory. Excitatory neurotransmitters, they're not necessarily exciting, but they are what stimulate the brain. Examples are dopamine, norepinephrine, epinephrine, and glutamate. Neurotransmitters that calm the brain and help create balance are called inhibitory. Inhibitory neurotransmitters balance mood and are easily depleted when the excitatory neurotransmitters are overactive. Inhibitory neurotransmitters are serotonin and GABA. The table on the slide summarizes the key neurotransmitters involved with anxiety, their brain response, and how to support them nutritionally. In the rest of the webinar, I'm going to review each of these key neurotransmitters, and I'm going to teach you how you can support them naturally. Some of these recommendations are taken from Dr. Emmons' book, The Chemistry of Calm, which is a book I highly recommend you read if you suffer from anxiety. So first, we're going to talk about glutamate and GABA. Our brain is truly elegant in its design, in which one chemical activates the process while its partner turns it off again. That is true of the brain chemicals glutamate and GABA, which together account for over 80% of brain activity. Glutamate accelerates brain activity as it was excitatory, and GABA, on the other hand, puts the brakes on brain activity as it's inhibitory. Together, they keep the brain humming along just at the right pace, not too fast and not too slow, able to manage everyday life and stress naturally. But if you have developed anxiety, then your balance of these two chemicals has been thrown off and the brain's activity level is turned up too high. So what we need to do to correct that is use balancing supplements for glutamate and GABA, which include amino acids like taurine and ltheanine, antioxidants like Inositol and green tea, vitamins like B6 and vitamin D, and certain minerals like magnesium and zinc. These are all natural approaches that I'm going to be covering later in the webinar. Next is norepinephrine. Norepinephrine raises your level of alertness and arousal. That is well and good if you're doing something like hunting, but not helpful if you're speaking in front of a group of people or if you have developed panic anxiety for any reason. With depression, there's often too little norepinephrine, but in anxiety, it's frequently elevated and needs to be toned down. At an emotional level, you may feel panicky as if something awful is about to happen, and mentally your mind just may go blank and you feel that you can't clearly think or remember things no matter how hard you try. This means we need to tone down epinephrine. So you can do that by taking certain amino acids, again, like L-theanine, NAC, Inositol, and omega-3 fatty acids, which we'll be talking about in a bit. Another important note, if your norepinephrine is elevated, you should also avoid caffeine. Now on to dopamine. The effects of dopamine are more complex than those of norepinephrine, at least in regard to anxiety. In some ways, they have a similar function. Both tend to be energizing and aid in mental focus and concentration. Both can aggravate anxiety when levels are way too high. But dopamine has some beneficial effects against anxiety as well, such as improving motivation and the experience of pleasure. Unless dopamine becomes really excessive, your anxiety may improve if you gently boost your dopamine levels. Signs of dopamine deficiency include feeling apathetic and fatigue, difficulty losing weight, feeling unmotivated, low sex drive, and just in general, difficulty getting pleasure from things. If you have these signs, along with anxiety, then you need to consider taking measures to boost your dopamine function, such as B vitamins, omega-3 fatty acids, and L-theanine. And now, serotonin. Nearly everyone feels better when their serotonin levels are optimal. It has such a wide array of functions involved with everything from sleep to appetite to impulse control to sexual desire. It is the brain chemical that helps soothe us when we feel stressed or anxious or threatened, and it offers considerable protection to the brain against the damaging effects of cortisol. Because serotonin is such a key brain chemical, there are many signs and symptoms of its depletion, such as insomnia, craving sweets or carbohydrates, muscle aches and pains, impulsive behavior, sadness, anxiety and irritability, feeling insecure, and lack of confidence. Most people with anxiety, especially if their mood is low, may benefit from boosting their serotonin levels by taking supplements like L-tryptophan or the related precursor 5-HTP, B vitamins, vitamin D, and omega-3 fatty acids. And now on to L-theanine, one of my favorite amino acids, which I like to call the natural Xanax. L-theanine is an amino acid found in green tea, and it has been shown in several studies to increase dopamine and serotonin production and GABA activity. I want to tell you about a very compelling study that was done on L-theanine that was published in 2004. It was a double-blind study where researchers compared L-theanine with Xanax, which is a commonly prescribed drug used for anxiety. Each volunteer took 1 milligram of Xanax, 200 milligrams of L-theanine, or they took the placebo on separate occasions. And all the participants were tested on all 3 treatments. So following each dose, the researchers obtained behavioral measures of anxiety in all participants. The results were nothing short of remarkable. L-theanine induced relaxing effects more than the Xanax or the placebo. This study is even more impressive when you consider the dose of Xanax that was taken into consideration. 1 milligram is a substantial dose of medication because generally most people only get a quarter or a half a milligram of Xanax for anxiety or for a bedtime sleep aid. So L-theanine is one of my most favorite treatments for anxiety. Although it is found in high concentrations in green tea, you would have to consume an awful lot of it to get a therapeutic dose. So you can get more of taking green tea extract or just taking the supplement containing L-theanine alone or in combination with other calming herbs. L-theanine is usually taken in doses from 50 to 200 milligrams once or twice daily. For severe anxiety, it can be taken 3 or 4 times a day. There are no known drug interactions, but of course, I always recommend talking to your doctor before adding it to any medication. And next is 5-HTP. 5-HTP is the precursor to serotonin. While 5-HTP has been known to help with sleep, it can be used during the daytime as well because it's not usually sedating. Considerable research has shown that 5-HTP can reduce anxiety, both general and panic, as well as improve mood. I recommend starting at a dose of 50 milligrams daily and then increasing every few days as tolerated. Some people do well with about 100-150 milligrams daily, but the dose can be safe to go as high as 300 milligrams if needed. It is usually best to take it in divided doses, 2 to 3 doses throughout the day. But if it is sedating, you can just take it at night. If you're already taking an SSRI medication, do not take 5-HTP without consulting your prescribing physician. Taurine. Taurine is an amino acid that increases glycine and GABA to calm the brain, and it also protects the brain by reducing the harmful effects of excess glutamate. You may be familiar with it because it's added to some popular drinks such as Red Bull. Apparently, these manufacturers see it as a means to further support someone during periods of extreme exertion when taurine levels can become depleted. I personally don't recommend replenishing through energy drinks, but you can calm your brain if you boost your taurine levels by taking a supplement. Taurine is usually taken in doses of about 500 milligrams 1 to 3 times daily. It can cause a slight drowsiness, so you might want to take it at bedtime. It has also been shown to reduce blood pressure, so you should use care if you're prone to hypotension or lightheadedness. And of course, always consult your doctor if you are on medication before taking any supplements. And now, inositol. Inositol is often classified as a B vitamin, though technically it's not a vitamin since the body can produce it. Taken as a supplement, it has long been known to reduce anxiety, panic, and OCD symptoms. Researchers found inositol to be just as effective as a popular antidepressant for panic disorder. Inositol is often recommended at a dose of about 1,500 milligrams daily, though in studies it's used at much higher doses. Its side effects can be mild, including some nausea, diarrhea, dizziness, fatigue, and a headache. And there is some reports of inositol worsening bipolar disorder. I do not recommend it if you have that condition. GABA. GABA has already been discussed as the neurotransmitter most responsible for calming down an overactive brain, and it's available as a nutritional supplement without a prescription. If you take it by mouth, a lot of it can get broken down before it gets to the brain, so it's not as useful orally as most people think. But still, a portion does appear to get to the brain, and some of GABA's calming effects may occur in the rest of the body and create a sensation as muscle relaxation. GABA has been shown in studies to help create a relaxing brainwave pattern and also boost function in individuals who are subjected to stress. GABA can be taken in doses as small as 100 milligrams twice daily or up to 600 or 700 milligrams 3 times a day. If drowsiness occurs, then you just take it at bedtime. In order to balance levels of the neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, epinephrine, and GABA, you must consume appropriate cofactors. Cofactors are vitamins and minerals. Folate, vitamin B6, tyrosine, magnesium, vitamin C, these all must be consumed at optimal levels in order for your neurotransmitters to function properly. For example, vitamin B6, magnesium, and vitamin C, they are all cofactors that facilitate the conversion of tryptophan to serotonin in the brain. Zinc is essential for the synthesis of serotonin and GABA in the brain, and magnesium deficiency is linked to anxiety disorders. So it's very important to make sure that you are taking a good multivitamin that has all of these cofactors that are essential for neurotransmitter production. So I know a lot of this can be a little overwhelming with trying to understand all about neurotransmitter function and cofactors and vitamins and minerals that you need to have a calm brain. So I'm going to make it easy for you and go over one of my most favorite supplements called Neurocalm. And the company has done all the work for you, and they have combined all of the nutrients together to support a greater feeling of calmness and lessen your anxiety symptoms. So key ingredients in this formula includes GABA, ltheanine, 5-HTP, your cofactors like B12, magnesium, and also it includes inositol, and then it adds in an herb called chamomile, which I'm going to teach you here in a little bit. It's a very anxiety-reducing herb. So I recommend patients use Neurocalm if they have increased levels of stress and anxiety, if they're easily agitated and frustrated. It's a good first start to just getting the nice blend of the calming neurotransmitters, cofactors, and herbs to help take the edge off your anxiety. You can find more information about Neurocalm at our website, www.naturalmedicinenow.com. As a naturopathic doctor, I have to mention about the link between microbes in your gut and anxiety. Scientists have long known that the enteric nervous system found within the gut is connected to the brain via the vagus nerve, and it is so influential that it's often referred to as the second brain. When we experience sadness, fear, or an emotional state, the gut is affected. And yet, the reverse is also true. When imbalances within the gut are present, such as inflammation or infection, our emotional state suffers as well. There's gut bacteria, such as lactobacillus and bifidobacterium, that produce those calming neurotransmitters known as GABA, while bacillus bacteria produce dopamine, a neurotransmitter that you learned activates and rewards the pleasure centers of the brain. So there's still much we don't know about how microorganisms in the gut influence emotion and moods, but there is enough evidence to support a daily habit of consuming probiotic-rich foods such as yogurt, kefir, kombucha, and fermented vegetables, or taking a probiotic supplement to help encourage a balanced mood. So now on to some of my favorite herbs for anxiety. First, I want to talk about rhodiola. Rhodiola is commonly known as golden root, rose root, or Arctic root. It is a medicinal plant indigenous to Siberia that thrives in dry and cold Arctic climates. The medicinal compounds of rhodiola are derived from the root of the plant and have been used to relieve stress, anxiety, mental and physical fatigue, or a depressed mood. Rhodiola is known as an adaptogen, meaning that it increases resistance to physical and emotional stress. It has also been shown to stimulate serotonin and dopamine activity, so it plays a really important role in healthy emotions. The recommended dosage for rhodiola is about 100 to 300 milligrams daily if you're taking it in capsule form, but it's also available in extracts and teas. Chamomile. Perhaps the most widely known use of chamomile is in its benefits as a mild relaxant or sedative. It's been used in this manner for centuries. It can be found in grocery store aisles under the name of sleepy time tea and taken 30 minutes before bedtime just to help you relax and prepare for a restful slumber. But despite its popularity as a soothing relaxant, chamomile benefits do not end there. It is used to calm our nerves and help us relax. There is one study that indicated 57% of participants receiving chamomile over a period of 8 weeks were able to reduce their anxiety scores by 50%. This indicates that chamomile tea or perhaps some capsules could alleviate your anxiety or make it far more bearable. Lemon balm. Named after the Greek word for the honeybee, lemon balm, also known as melissa, has been used at least since the Middle Ages to reduce stress and anxiety. Lemon balm extract, particularly the rosmarinic constituent, causes GABA concentrations to be higher, which that explains why it has an anti-anxiety effect. Lemon balm is sold as tea, capsules, and in a tincture, and it's often combined with other calming herbs such as chamomile and hops and valerian. The suggested dose of lemon balm is around 300 milligrams once or twice daily. It can be used in the morning to address daytime anxiety or in the evening to help support relaxation and sleep. Plant essential oils are commonly used for anxiety and highly effective. I recommend adding them to baths, using them in massage oil, or in an infuser. The most common essential oils to use for anxiety and nervous tension are geranium, lavender, jasmine, melissa, and sandalwood. So now let's talk about diet considerations for anxiety. Healthy cooking and nutritious diet are essential for controlling anxiety symptoms. In general, a healthy diet is abundant in omega-3 fatty acids, organic fresh fruits and vegetables, filtered water, and devoid of food high in saturated fats and refined carbohydrates. This dietary pattern pretty much resembles the Mediterranean diet, and there's actually a lot of studies showing that the Mediterranean diet leads to reduction in mood disorders and anxiety. By eating a healthy Mediterranean diet, you're supplying your body for the correct amount of amino acids, vitamins, and minerals to help support neurotransmitter production. The following foods are rich in serotonin, so I highly recommend you include them in your diet: avocado, banana, red plums, tomatoes, pineapple, eggplant, and walnuts. Another diet recommended for people with anxiety is following a low sugar diet. Some people find that they have more anxiety within a few hours of eating as their blood sugar drops in response to insulin. So it may be helpful to try eating multiple small meals, which include both proteins and complex carbohydrates, like whole grains. Often, the simple carbohydrates from foods such as white breads, donuts, and pastries and pasta, that can all lead to imbalances in blood sugar levels. So a low sugar diet is worth a try for a week or two if you're really suffering from anxiety. One note about caffeine. People with anxiety are more sensitive to caffeine. So if you are suffering from anxiety, I would recommend completely removing caffeine from what you eat. Try it for a couple weeks, see if you notice a difference. You may get a headache or two for a couple days, but I promise it will clear up soon. And a last note when talking about diet is eat breakfast. Many people with anxiety disorders skip breakfast. When you skip breakfast, you are not giving your body the adequate amount of amino acids from protein to help have balanced neurotransmitter function. So I recommend eating things like eggs, which are filling and nature's top source of choline. Low levels of choline are associated with increased anxiety. So eggs are great to add into your diet if you have anxiety. I can't make it through an anxiety lecture without talking about optimizing your omega-3 levels. 60% of the dry weight of your brain is fat. Essential fatty acids are very important components of nerve cell walls and are involved in neurotransmitter synthesis. Omega-3 fatty acids positively impact anxiety disorders on many levels, so make sure you're incorporating healthy omegas in your diet. This would include an oily cold water fish like salmon, which would be a great source of fatty acids. Actually, a 6-ounce piece of grilled wild salmon contains about 3.75 grams. Other good choices are anchovies and sardines and mussels. So if you can't eat the whole fish, then start with taking a fish oil daily at about 2,000 to 3,000 milligrams a day if you suffer from anxiety. And last but not least, we have to talk about lifestyle changes. You already know that yoga can reduce stress, but it can also help you manage anxiety. Practicing yoga helps boost GABA levels. Research has measured GABA levels in volunteers before and after yoga, and they found that GABA levels increased by 27%. So I highly recommend doing yoga if you are an anxiety sufferer. Also, exercise is safe and good for the brain and a powerful antidote to anxiety. And then also, meditation is particularly effective in treating anxiety. The art of practicing mindful awareness allows you to experience the true essence of each moment as it occurs. So check out our 10-minute meditation for stress webinar. Also check out our Emotional Freedom Technique webinar, which is another solution to helping you deal with anxiety and panic attacks. Throughout this webinar, we have talked about different strategies to combat anxiety. So here are your action plans. Number 1, talk with your doctor about using amino acid therapy such as ltheanine, 5-HTP, and GABA to balance your brain chemistry, or consider using a supplement like Neurocalm. Number 2, make sure you have a healthy gut. Eat fermented vegetables or consider taking a probiotic. And 3, take the edge off by using calming herbs like chamomile, lemon balm, or passion flower. Thank you for joining this webinar. I hope you now have a better understanding of how your nervous system works, and you'll begin to use nutritional approaches to help you cope with anxiety in a natural way. When you correct key neurotransmitter imbalances with nutritional support like L-theanine and GABA, omega-3 oils, chamomile, passion flower, lavender oil, and even yoga or meditation, you can feel less anxious naturally. So if you are taking medication already, be sure to talk with your doctor before stopping your medication or adding in any of the supplements recommended in this webinar. So take action and prevent disease. This is Dr. Tiffany Jackson wishing you a happy and healthy day.